Welcome back, everybody, to game number 2, where Flash Esports is facing off against Tong Fu. You're watching the G1 League. It is now day 7. Day 7, that sounds right. Day 7 of the group stages. Our final game of the day. Flash Esports on the dire side, Tong Fu on the radio, and Tong Fu on the ropes as we take a look at our standings for the G1 League. We are in Group B, where Tong Fu, if they lose this game, drop to 1-5, and are basically the same position as FTFC are in Group A, where it is all but mathematically impossible for them to advance. So a very important game for Tong Fu, and equally important for Flash. If Flash lose this game, then suddenly we're tied up 1-1 for the series. The teams are still dead even at the bottom of the group, and really anything is possible. I am LD of Beyond the Summit of dotacommentaries.com, and I am delighted to be bringing these G1 League games. I don't do this every time, but I will mention that if you haven't already done so, you should consider buying the in-game ticket. We don't benefit from it directly, but the organizers do. That's 17173.com. You can visit their website if you speak Chinese at dota.17173.com, and supports the sponsor, supports the G1 League, and shows them that the Western fans are interested in this event. It's a bit of a pricey ticket, but when you factor in all the great games we've already had and the LAN finals to follow, well, I think it's well worth it. Not only to show them support, but hell, to learn from these players. And I would even point to a game that happened today. Xiao8's support Shadow Demon play, where Painted Gold was honestly just entranced by his play, as well as the play from Yao and the safe lane invoker, to the point where I was trying to get Painted Gold to have a conversation about the game, and he was so focused on how awesome that what these players were doing was that it sounded like he was spacing out. So if a pro player can admire that kind of craftsmanship and learn from it to that degree, then all of us noobs out there can learn a hell of a lot more. So anyway, that's enough plugging the ticket. We're in Game 2, and Flash get their hands on two heroes that were absolutely perfect for them last game. DSF on the Bounty Hunter, ehwah on what is quickly becoming his by far #1 signature hero, the Queen of Pain. Tong Fu do get the Rubik this time. A little bit of a different hero from what we saw previously. Traditionally, the Chinese teams run Rubik as a support. Now, we've seen a few exceptions to this. The big one would be Ferrari, has played solo mid Rubik on occasion, but generally it's a support, and generally they play it in the safe lane. Let's see what they do. There are some great spells to steal. I think Track, the biggest one, as well as Queen of Pain's Blink or AoE nukes, but mainly if you can get your hands on Track, you're going to be very happy. They also get their hands on the Chaos Knight again, a hero that on paper is fantastic against Queen of Pain and Bounty Hunter. Gives you a reliable, targeted lockdown for heroes that are elusive, that are difficult to escape from. But last game just never got going. The offensive tri-lane on paper seemed great, but the execution wasn't quite there. This I like. They get the profit, and can be food for Bounty Hunter Queen of Pain in the mid game. Can be food if he doesn't have a good start, but gives them tons of flexibility with their lanes, and gives them that ever-important +1 to snipe fleeing heroes, to split push around the map. And if he has a good start, an early mechanism and early earn can not only turn around ganks, but also sustain and fuel your pushes. And that was an issue for Tong Fu in the last game. They had a couple of kills in that safe lane, or Flash's safe lane, in their offensive tri-lane, but they weren't turning them into towers. And I think with this profit, that's pretty much a guarantee. They'll get the kills, and then they can also look to get the towers. I say they'll get the kills. That is not a given, but if they do. Twin-Headed Dragon is in the pool. Probably the strongest support in this version. Certainly one of the most popular ones. And I wonder if Flash are going to consider going for him. Now, last time around, they went back for the Lone Druid very late. They picked up a Bat Rider at this point in the game. Unfortunately, actually, I think they first picked it. But it's banned now, so we're not going to see the Bat Rider this game. We're not going to see Tong Fu getting their hands on it. And we will say the Jakiro. Makes sense. Strong support hero. If you pick into anything else besides a support now, you pretty much tipped your hand for all your lanes. This way, Queen of Pain could be your safe lane farmer. You could run a Jakiro +1 mid. And you could have someone supporting the Queen of Pain with Bounty Hunter offlane, or you can have Queen of Pain solo mid. You can have some sort of a tri-lane or a jungler. By picking into Jakiro here from a drafting standpoint, Flash leave themselves a lot more options, and that's important when you've already picked up Bounty Hunter, who everybody knows where Bounty Hunter is going to be. He's always going to be in the suicide lane. So, the draft continues, and the bans now start to come out. Tong Fu, again, banning out the Tidehunter. I don't think I've ever seen Flash run it except when DSF plays it as a suicide lane hero. They may have ran it once as a solo mid, but it's not one of their most popular heroes. It seems more like a hero that Tong Fu just don't want to deal with in this game. And now I wonder, what are they going to combo with this Chaos Knight? There's a Leshrac in the pool, there's a Lina. And I actually feel like Lina might be the better choice. Sure, Leshrac gives you more push, but Lina gives you that extremely low cooldown, 70-second Laguna Blade against heroes like Queen of Pain and Bounty Hunter. If she's able to get 6, you just snipe them, and gives you more anti-push as well, assuming Leshrac goes for the Edict build, which generally we've seen Leshracs going for the Edict build. I think there's a legitimate case to be made that Lina is the better pick in this version, and especially in this game against what Flash are bringing to the table. So we'll see. There's a Shadow Demon in the pool, a decent hero to kind of punish the tower dives, and a decent defensive option for them. Panda's in the pool as well. That's a traditional Chinese favorite. They could run an off-lane Prophet, a safe lane Chaos Knight, or a safe lane Rubik plus Panda, and then a Chaos Knight plus 1 mid. So they could run dual lanes at this point. Their draft is really wide open. I would say no Broodmother just because you're up against Bounty Hunter and 2 good AoE heroes. Not going to be. It's not a recipe for success for a Brood. Beastmaster, I suppose, could be an option if Tong Fu want to play that offlane Prophet. So it's such a wide open draft. It really just comes down to what the teams want to do. And Tong Fu's pick pretty standard. They've been going a lot for the Invoker. I don't know if we're going to see it this game. I just don't feel like that Wex Invoker tucked away in the safe lane was the right choice. If you're going to run the Invoker in the safe lane, and you're running an offensive tri-lane, you need Sunstrike. You need that +1, and Prophet gives you a sort of a Sunstrike Invoker plus some more pushing power, a little bit less burst damage, but he gives you that kind of global threat who can be the +1 in those engagements if you want to run an aggressive lane, or even if you're just running a safe lane and you want to push pretty early on. So I don't. Well, we're not going to see the Invoker now as he's been banned, but I wasn't a big fan of the way they played that. I think Wex Invoker is okay mid if you can somehow farm. Although, as Pain and Go was discussing, and as we've seen, it's the new Invoker with his 38 base damage. It's damn tough, even with starting with Blades of Attack, to actually last hit against anyone. Especially a hero like Queen of Pain who's got some decent base damage. I will take this moment to point out that Flash has run Pudge in the past, and they have a decent lineup to run on this game. They have a Jakiro who's good setup. They have Track, which helps Pudge stay in range, get in range for hooks. And it can work. Now, when they've run it, I think they've ran it twice, and one of the times they ran it, it was a Venomancer Pudge dual lane to counter Templar Assassin. But I'm just going to throw the Pudge out there. That's sort of your wild card option for Flash if they want to do something a little bit different, a little bit more creative. We could see it. It's unlikely. You never expect a Pudge. Unless it's Na'Vi and Dendy's been on a tear. You never expect a Pudge, but anything is possible in these games. What else is on the board? There's a Wisp. I don't know it's the best pick against Flash because they have so much burst damage, but Chaos Knight Wisp, pretty strong combo. You Prophet, gives you a pretty solid all-around global threat. I would like to see something different from them, though. I feel like they have the similar issue to what we saw from LGD in their first 2 matches, where it felt like they weren't adapting to the version. Today, LGD showed that they adapted quickly, but in their first 2 games of the G1 League, they looked like they were a bit slow to adapt, and of course they had the role swaps too, with Xiao and DD switching positions from 3 to 5. So, something more aggressive, something that's going to prevent Flash from getting momentum going. Crystal Maiden, very, very powerful offensive support picked up here. Good against Bounty Hunter in that safe lane. And one of the few supports that can kill him early. Of course, Frostbite does reveal you when you're invis and lots of chasing power. But will be food in the mid game if they don't have a good start. So just picking that very item-independent support. And it could be a tri-lane with a Chaos Knight Rubik Crystal Maiden. Not the most burst damage. Rubik, a hero that's a good initiator in a tri-lane, but not really a great follow-up, per se. At least not until he gets levels. So they're either looking at a Chaos Knight Crystal Maiden dual lane, a Rubik +1, and a Prophet offlane. Or they're looking at a Prophet offlane, a tri-lane of some kind, and then a solo mid to be determined. Dragon Knight's in the pool, and it's a hero we've seen Tongfu turn to a lot. I can't say nothing's been working for them, so I suppose it's not fair to judge the hero pick, but that Dragon Knight hasn't been working out too well. Oh boy, here we go. Flash with the tiny. Are they going to round it out with a wisp? But now track is like a pseudo wisp. It doesn't give you that damage reduction that you get from overcharge, but you still get the chasing power through track, and it helps to mitigate some of Tiny's mobility issues. Nope, we're not going to see what I thought we would see, because they're going for a Night Stalker. And this, again, this I like. It's an aggressive pick. It looks like I missed a couple of kills. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, I just got a blue screen of death. I thought Windows 7 was supposed to be the end of blue screens of death. But apparently I was wrong, so very quickly, let's try and situate ourselves in this game. No time to talk about the draft anymore. ehwah is solely mid on the Queen of Pain. He's up against a very powerful dual lane and the Chaos Knight Rubik. As far as the kills go, who's actually died so far? Sven was our final pick from Flash. Sven Tiny to round things out. Moo, did he actually die? Yeah, this suicide lane has been having a lot of trouble. Or the safe lane, rather. Jakiro Bounty Hunter somehow scored a kill. It looks like it's actually a tri-lane with a Sven, a Bounty Hunter, and a twin-headed dragon. Yeah, hopefully the stream is coming back up for everyone. Again, I do apologize, I got a blue screen of death, but we're back into the game. So, Bounty Hunter in the suicide lane. For anyone who's not familiar with what game this is game number 2 of Tongfu versus Flash. Tongfu lost game 1. If they lose this game 2, they're in a lot of trouble. Speaking of trouble, here comes hengkyky initiating with the war cry. Look at the chasing power. Stormbolt to hit on 2. ehwah blinks in. Ice Path as well. How dropping low. How tanking as best he can. A couple more auto attacks. One more to bring him down. And look at the tanky power while that war cry is up. And similarly, look how fast they die when it's down. hengkyky will drop in the end score. Already 4-1 in their favor. In the suicide lane, it's KS going to work on longdd. Avalanche toss. Not going to toss longdd up in the air, or that would have been a kill. So ehwah gets the big smoke gank mid. They pick up a pair of kills, and well, the dual lane's just not working for Tongfu so far. I kind of thought we'd see the Rubik Night Stalker and the Crystal Maiden Chaos Knight, but that's a bit of a minor quibble. Looks like, at the moment, let's take a look at the gold graph. God, I feel so disoriented just being thrown back into this game. Queen of Pain, our lead farmer. So once again, ehwah having a powerful start. The Bounty Hunter, I guess they started with some sort of a level 1 gank on the bottom lane, and they're just going to keep on roaming. Sven and Jakiro as a pair, using this smoke war cry to initiate, to getting close before Moo can react. Moo is boots, but it's still daytime. Daystalker, not that scary. Moo dropping low. Moo to be brought down. Flash with the insane aggression. Boy, does this team like to kill early and often. This is more of what we saw in the qualifiers, just sensing weakness, like a drop of blood in the water, and they just bust out all the fangs and just start feasting. It's a feast. Score's now 5-1. What could counter this aggression perhaps is longdd, Honest Nature's Prophet, as the TP comes in from hengkyky. No mana for Stormbolt. In fact, I don't even know if I'll have it after this Clarity Potion. Just a roaming support Sven. It's kind of a throwback to the good old days. Was it 6.67C? One of those older patches where it was just all about the tri-lane. Sven, one of the favorite support heroes in the tri-lane, because of his big AoE stun and the fact that he's very tanky and difficult to bring down as far as supports go. It's a different kind of Sven in this game. More of a roamer, less of a laning tri-lane support, but it's working so far. So good. 2-1-3 on him, 1-0-4 on the Jakiro. These two supports have been involved in every single kill thus far in this game. God damn. Alright, we're getting our legs under us, guys. We have our sea legs ready to roll. So, the question is, can Tongfu bounce back from this difficult start? And I feel they can. Flash, a lot of stuns, a lot of team fight, and they have track. It's dangerous. It's hard to come back from this kind of a deficit, but you have heroes that are relatively item independent. You've Chaos Knight, who's already got his bodilies hit level 5. You've got a Night Stalker who, in spite of the struggles, has Arena Basilius, has level 5, has his boots, has the most basic items up. And you have gankable enemies. Bounty Hunter, sure, he's got invis, but if you see him, he's squishy, he's easily brought down. They also have this pushing power from the Prophet and Flash. A little bit lacking in their anti-push at this stage of the game.
Are fortified.
I do like this adjustment by Flash. They use up... Did they use every smoke, actually? That's what I want to check. They've used all 3 smokes. They don't have any on their heroes. They've used all 3 in 6 minutes. In fact, I think they used all 3 in 4 minutes. So, that's probably the reason why we're not seeing aggression. I was gonna say, oh hey, maybe they just want to sit back, get some levels. Which makes sense. These heroes definitely want levels. Hero really wants to max the dice pad. But it may just be the lack of smokes. That's probably the real reason. As ehwah blinks away after the reality rift, so he'll be okay. Towers being traded, but trading towers against the Prophet, generally not a winning proposition. You can see the tier 1 top still not dropping. I almost feel Flash would be better off counter ganking, but you know Tong Fu is going to hoof it out of here the second that anyone TP's in. Track onto How. Track is up now, and Veronica's positioning not really the best. I think he should be much farther back. Not up in front of his team. They also want to be careful about how they retreat out of this, as How is tracked. They do vision, but he'll be okay in the end. Queen of Pain. A rare moment of inefficiency from ehwah, wasting a bit of time. Only level 6, could be 7 by now. Giving sansheng time to farm, that's the other big thing. ehwah has his boots, has his bottle. Night Stalker farming well. Night Stalker and Chaos Knight with these 2 towers. They had a bad start. They both died early, but now they're right back in it. In fact, there are 2 leaders as far as net worth goes. Well, now Tiny slightly inches ahead, but neck and neck, really. Tower top was destroyed by Tiny in the end, so that's going to give him... Looks like he's going for that carry Tiny build, and when you have Sven Bounty Hunter, that combo, the move speed, the armor, makes it real easy for him to find kills. Speaking of kills, ehwah thrown up in the air. Will there be a reality rift to rid him back? ehwah! Oh boy, does he ever deliver. Turns that around, kills off the Chaos Knight. His parting blows, his parting words are, F you, man. If I'm going down, you are too. And he actually... Did he get the kill first? We don't get a kill notification, so not sure if he got the experience there. I don't think he did, though, because he's only level 6. Now longdd, in a bit of a pickle. Ice Path will hit. Track to follow. DSF looking for kills, going to work. Chopping away, slicing and dicing, and the kill will come out. KS throws in an avalanche for good measure. The mid-game synergy of Flash, very reminiscent of what IG did with their Sven pick. They went for the Night Stalker, the Sven, and the Bounty Hunter. This time we see a Tiny, a Sven, and a Bounty Hunter. But the same principle applies. The move speed, the armor stack is just a lineup built for chasing, built for burst damage. Alright, let's see if they can continue to find the kills. Silence on a hengkyky, well timed, waiting until that telekinesis ends. And they pick up a kill. In comes DSF, has tracked. Veronica assassinated. Full health to nothing to 1 gnetgodz and a couple of auto attacks. Prophet gonna TP in. Too late, unfortunately. And I think they need to rush that mech this game. Urn probably should come from the Night Stalker. But if they don't get a mech, they are sitting ducks for Flash to pick them off. ehwah waiting in the wings, on the sideline, lurking in the trees. No ult, though. And cannot really dive into this Flash lineup. It's got to be Sven who goes in first. He will. Out comes ehwah, baiting back and forth. Silence onto hengkyky, and that will be the end of the engagement. Flash are going to back off in the end. Score is now 8-3, but actually feeling very even. Experience-wise, Flash a bit ahead. Gold-wise, Tongfu a bit ahead. Yes, that's tower gold. But at the same time, they have a great lineup to stop Flash from getting towers. Tiny is farming well, although KS did journey towards mid. Again, a lot of these Flash players not always 100% focused on just farming. They really like to go for kills, and sometimes, perhaps to their own detriment. Track on the longdd. ehwah's here, the ult cooling down 5. Scream to start this one off. Still no TP. Surprise longdd did not go for it sooner. He should die to 1 more auto attack, but not before hengkyky drops sansheng. Has stolen that level 4 Screw of Pain. Going to work, zapping everyone. The power of this Rubik pick. Now Veronica freezing ehwah in place. Trying to TP out. Void's going to cancel that. 4 seconds done. They're all fighting in the macro pile. Jakiro, Jakiro. Can he do it? Gets Veronica. 1 smooth. That's all he's going to find in the end. 3 heroes dead. DSF drops as well. Buyback from the Prophet to set that up. But right back to 1,400 gold and continues to rack up the experience. Trading, generally not a good idea against Bounty Hunter. Have they stolen track through all this? No. They steal dual breath. I think he wanted that macro pyre, that delicious flames. Are those delicious flames? Look at my grammar today. Moo getting stunned by the Stormbolt. The track onto him. Now pulled back into an army of Chaos Knight illusions. Not Phantasm, but illusion. Still it's enough for the kill. Tong Fu fighting as a unit, and Flash just ill-prepared for this. Starting with the ganks of Tong Fu, turning it around. A beautiful ice path, catching out 3. Will it be enough though? hengkyky, look at the armor, but not enough. ehwah jumps in, throws the ult. Mu down to 37 HP. Now KS wants to find a long range toss. Not able to jam that in, not able to pick up the kill. 38 HP. Mu clearly win cahoots with Ice Frog after this game. Lordy lordy.
I won't give them the satisfaction.
Now, the question for Tong Fu is, what do they go for the next level of items? Night Stalker, I think rushing a BKB for him or the Chaos Knight. If they can get up early BKBs, Flash don't have many answers for that. Tiny's he's not farming. He had a decent start, but for the most part, he's been participating in team fights. You can actually see he's fallen a full 1,000 gold behind the Night Stalker. A quick BKB up on Mu or this Chaos Knight, they can just charge in, and Flash, they can tank to some extent using Warcry in a timely fashion, although this is not a carries fan, and the downside to that is Warcry is not going to be maxed for probably another 4 to 5 minutes, so sure, it's great, you get 8 armor, but the big thing is that the cooldown decreases dramatically as you level it up, all the way down from 36 to 18, so you can't count on having it up every fight. Those early BKBs on those two heroes, I feel that's the way to go, and if the Prophet goes for a quick mech, it might be sansheng who does, though. sansheng's got a headdress. Not sure if he's going for the mech or if he's going for a pipe. But either way, that next level of items, that's going to fuel the aggression, and Flash is a lineup, honestly, not really the best ganky lineup in the laning stage, but they just made it work with the smokes, and Tong Fu kind of unprepared. Probably should have had lane wards placed, maybe even with a sentry. Just after the first smoke gank, you really want to, once you see what they're trying to do, you want to try and prevent future instances of it from occurring. But either way, we're at a point now where Flash, not really the strongest head-to-head lineup when there are BKBs on the field if they don't get instant kills. This lineup is all about the burst damage, the tiny avalanche toss combo, the Queen of Pain, hitting a good Sonic Wave, hitting a good Screw of Pain. And after that initial burst, they're squishy. They're pretty easily brought down. Even a hero like Tiny, he's got 1 base armor. He's very vulnerable to that physical damage. As much as he can dish out, he takes a lot back too. And don't be fooled by that 1,000 HP. Great against the nukes, not so helpful against all the physical damage to come. We do have a bit of a disconnect as longdd needs a moment. Good time to check the ping, since I know people tend to be curious. And well, as expected, Flash the ones who have the better pings. They are in Singapore, and it is a Singaporean server, so in theory they should always have great ping. I say that, earlier I saw ehwah with 300, but it seems his internet has calmed down a little bit. Tong Fu with a bit of delay, but clearly not affecting them, and I think this just goes to show you that ping only accounts for so much. Sure, you're not going to play as well as you could with higher ping, but at the same time, you can have the worst ping and still come out in a great position. You get 8 armor,
Whoa.
but the big thing is that the cooldown decreases dramatically
now I'm talking
as you
myself.
level it up. All the way to... That was really confusing. Let's just pretend that never happened. So, back to the game, where we have Veronica farming mid, and nighttime, the first nighttime, it's going to end soon. In fact, hasn't just ended. It's 5 AM. He does have his darkness available. Interesting not to see Mu rushing the BKB. I don't mind the Vanguard necessarily, as I miss a kill on longdd. longdd gets solo killed by DSF on the bottom lane. Silent before he can win walk. This will be the death of him, so turned around quickly. Killing spree for Hal, who's going for drums. I don't mind the Vanguard. The concern will be if he gets this Vanguard and they don't continue to keep the pressure up, because it's great now. It's not so great in 10 minutes. When a Vitality Booster or just an Ogre Club would be doing basically the same thing for you. The damage block, nice, but not going to help too much against the high damage auto attacks of Tiny, not going to help too much against gnetgodz. Blocking a small chunk of damage when they're hitting so damn hard for 200 plus a pop only does so much. And so then we saw EG struggle with this, where they went for the Vanguard, they went for sort of these mid-game items. For them, they did it on a Chaos Knight. And they didn't win the game, they didn't get a massive advantage with these mid-game items, and then it came back to bite them later on. So, let's see if they can make these items work. Probably going to be waiting until that second nighttime to really kick things off.
Dire's bottom tower.
As Moo and Hao are farming together. Very curious. I guess a little bit of afraid about the bounty hunter ganks, and safety in numbers, folks. That's the way to go. Flash? Flash operating in the buddy system as well. Everybody grab a friend. It's the best way to play Dota. Hey, it actually is as far as gaming goes. Generally a lot more fun to play with your friends. Even if they're yelling at you, and they tend to yell at you even more than pub players. At least mine do. ehwah, boy, has he been shut down. 3,500 gold. This may be a game for him to rush a BKB, because you're dealing with the Night Stalker silence, you're dealing with tons of chain stun, tons of nuke damage, and a Rubik who really can hurt you. I think BKB is mandatory. Flash smoked up. They don't want to farm. They want to fight. They win by killing. These guys don't like to win by farming. They're going to walk right past an Observer Ward. Sentry Ward gets dropped. They know an Observer's there. Really smart play. Just so that they know if they get revealed, they will be spotted. And they're not even going to... Only MLG to actually reveal or dispel that smoke. Smoke dissipates for him. Sven's still smoked up. Now it ends for hengkyky as well. And DSF continues to hunt. But what is he hunting? Got to stumble across longdd, who didn't rush the mech. He went for the hand of Midas. They feel this Rubik can build it in time. Getting close to a buckler. longdd drops low, forces him to TP from Veronica. Not the biggest deal, but a small economic victory.
Invisibility.
Now ehwah with the invis rune. On the hunt, on the move. And let's actually check how many easy kills are there right now. Prophet's a pretty easy kill for this Queen of Pain. As she didn't opt for the quick mech. Chaos Knight, definitely not. Night Stalker, definitely not. Rubik, yes for now, not so much in a level or two, once he starts to level up that passive. But for the moment, he's going to be a pretty easy kill. So there's actually 3 easy kills. This is where if you already have the mech on the Prophet, there's at most 2 and potentially none. Prophet ult gets dropped just to try and end the push. Tong Fu really want to hold on to these towers as much as possible so that when the second night begins, they have a good staging area to engage from. They don't have to stage from their tier 2s. They can get aggressive, head all over the map from their tier 1s, and just sort of
top tower is under attack.
Fan out all over the place. So that's why we see the Prophet ult being spammed, just to keep the push back. Whereas generally, at this point in the game, you want to hold on to it for team fights. But Tong Fu much more concerned about maintaining their map control. And hey, they've got it. They've only lost 1 tower, and it's their Suicide Lane tier 1. Not an important tower as far as Roshan goes. Here comes Tong Fu. They're going to catch out hengkyky. Look at the burst damage. It's not the auto text, but the nukes to bring him low. He'll drop the Bash Brothers in action. Chaos Knight and Night Stalker. One's got wings, one's got a horse. Both of these guys can fly. Although, dare I say it, he doesn't have wings. They still haven't fixed this bug, huh? In some ways, I feel this is a scarier, more disgusting creature. Just sort of a nasty, nasty feral gargoyle without the wings, but not quite as luxurious, I gotta say. Flying a lot better than driving. Farm experience continue to accrue for Tong Fu, and Flash, not so much. Falling behind, starting to really lose map control. They already lost 2 tier 1s. Third one's in jeopardy, and they're gonna fight this. I don't really think they can. Fighting into this is gonna be very hard. They do know that Hunter in the Night is down. This may be an opening. hengkyky comes in. Ice Pet only catches 1. That's probably not enough. hengkyky's in trouble. Moo jumping onto him. It is a Daystalker, but MLG should drop. Queen of Pain assassinates that Chaos Knight. ehwah doing work. Once longdd. Track on a Veronica. These supports getting isolated. Not able to stay with the tanks. Not able to stay with the Night Stalker. And now they're paying for it. DSF gets voided. Do they have the detection to bring him down? 1 by 1. Tong Fu being isolated and shut down. God, do they need that Night Stalker to have nighttime. Actually a great time to fight for Flash because that Hunter of the Night was down and because they were able to separate the squishy supports from the tanks, from the Chaos Knight, from the Night Stalker. Moo the last to fall. It's a team wipe for Flash. 5 heroes dead. Probably 3 or 4 track kills and all for the price of a tier 1. And DSF cackles with delight. A bounty hunter's dream. 6, 2, and 3. Skyrocketed ahead. Now our lead farmer sitting on a veritable Scrooge McDuck level of gold coins. 2,400 for him. And what does he buy now? He can complete the drums, and he can either work towards the BKB, which wouldn't be far off, or even rush something like a Vlad's. That armor will be very helpful against Chaos Knight. You've already got Sven, and the combination, especially with 3 melee heroes, can really add a lot of punch to your teamfight survivability. So we'll see. We've seen Havos go for that early Vlad's and use it quite effectively. on heroes like Juggernaut and heroes like Anti-Mage, and we've seen Light of Heaven do it on the Bounty Hunter from time to time, so the world is his oyster. I guess that's the main point. And all of a sudden, ehwah, still rushing the Hex. Does he ever love this build? Generally, it's not something we see too much of. A lot of the Southeast Asian Queen of Pain players, especially the Pinoys, really prefer their Linked Spheres, but I would say even in general throughout Asia, an early Linked Sphere or an early BKB is generally the preference. Occasionally, you'll see something like an Aghanim Scepter. If you're farming really well and you want to be able to fight more often, or fight all the time, rather. Suddenly, Flash also have good positioning for Roshan, especially if they can knock down this tier 1 bottom. Which is still quite healthy. It looks like a BKB is being worked on. I just missed a courier kill in the midst of that fight, I think. Didn't even notice that until now, but it looks like the courier for the Radiant is dead for the moment. Guess it went down in that big engagement top when everyone died. Sansheng dropping low. He will be brought down. ehwah kills him all with the ultimate. Now KS overextending. Should be picked off. MLG to follow. Oh, how the tides have turned when that Night Stalker has his ult up. Silence on the ehwah. Mu really wants this kill, but Track to make ehwah move a little bit faster. Juking left, juking right. Wants to blink into those trees. Will find it. Prophet reveals him. Needs to sprout. Not quite able to do so. And now DSF lurks on the high ground. Lurks in the wings. How still giving chase. How far will How chase? I ask you. I ask you. And apparently not that far. Prophet TP's in top. What was the net result for that fight? I believe it was 3 heroes dead for the Dire and 1 for the Radiant. The courier respawns and didn't have anything on it. As soon as I go to look at the damn courier to see if it had items, veronica gets solo killed by DSF, and now DSF's going to pay for that. And it's a track kill, so never a bad trade, but you are giving up a level 13 bounty hunter. Most likely, can he go invis? Do they have any detection? The dust is there. Mu spots him out. Now sprouted away from DSF. Doesn't matter. He'll fall to this. Sansheng gonna steal that Shuriken toss for good measure. While this was all happening, Hal finds a solo kill on ehwah. Maybe the Prophet ult helped him out there a little bit. KS pulled back in. 4-second stun. Wow, wow, wow. Now KS gonna survive. He'll actually be okay. What a time for a 4-second stun. And they're going for a DPS Prophet. A little surprising to me, to be honest. The mech is up now on Sansheng. But he could be well on his way to a Hex. He could be well on his way to even so like a Necro 3, just to give them vision for the Bounty Hunter, allow them to de-ward free, or for free, and also to fuel the push and amp up the damage quite a bit of these naturally high DPS tanky kind of semi-carries in the Night Stalker and the Chaos Knight. So a little surprising, but certainly not a bad pick. If the game goes longer, if it turns into a bit of a split push war, the Maelstrom will be the best item. Second to none when it does come to the split push. How is the item progression for Flash? That's really the question at the moment. Treads up on the Sven. A little disappointed to see the support Sven. Boy, did it work well for those first 3 smoke ganks, but since then, just haven't been able to accomplish too much. Hex still be worked on by ehwah. We're not seeing that 90-minute Hex. By the time he has, there's probably going to be a BKB up on the Chaos Knight. Heck, Night Stalker's going to have one. That's a double BKB. And your Hex is not going to do anything for you unless you get it off in advance, which, even if you do, these heroes are so tanky, I'm not sure they can burst them down. It's going to take everything to kill the Night Stalker, to kill the Chaos Knight. Aside from that, Tiny working towards an Aghanim. One of the better late game heroes to deal with a hero like Chaos Knight because he's got that cleave on the Aghanim Scepter, as well as Crag Exterior, which does proc on illusions, or can anyway. Makes it pretty easy. It makes it pretty hard for Chaos Knight to find kills. Also with the Sven's armor, will allow your Tiny to be a lot more tanky and survivable in these fights. So if it goes late enough, I would say Flash are looking pretty good. The dangerous spot for them is going to be the next 10 to 20 minutes or so. Probably the next 10 to 15, where Tong Fu have multiple BKBs up, the second night is well underway, and they can just start forcing fights, killing you under your own towers. When is that death ball going to begin to form? How much longer will they wait? They really, the only thing they're lacking is the Chaos Knight BKB. Once this is up, I see no reason for Tong Fu to farm. They don't have carries that farm well. Prophet farms decently, but doesn't scale that well. And then the Night Stalker and the Chaos Knight don't really farm well. This is strike while the iron is hot. That's what I expect to see from Tong Fu. Smoke up, and in fact, they're just going to get the ball rolling now. Trance the pressure in that top lane. Prophet, 1,800 gold up on him. Everybody parading towards the top lane, and Flash choosing this moment to head into their own jungle. This has the makings of a team fight. And as I say that, they're going to retreat to the tower. Not actually going to foray into their own jungle. Mu leading the charge. Sansheng close behind has that mechanism up. Chaos will be spotted out. Silence onto him. Void as well. Mu needs to pop that BKB. Waiting a long time. Really trying to bait out some spells. Immediately Veronica bursts down. Now Mu with the BKB. But Trek helping Chaos to survive. Chaos brought down. Where is the damn Chaos Knight in the midst of this? He's not here. Sorry, did I say Chaos Knight? I meant the Tiny. Now the Trek onto Mu. Mu should be able to get away. Don't think they'll be able to... What the hell was that stun? That was an 8,000 range stun, but they do get the kill. And fighting without the Prophet, fighting without sansheng really committing to that fight. I believe he's just ushered away. He doesn't have a BKB. Very questionable to engage without the Chaos Knight and the Prophet in that fight. Tong Fu not showing the best decision making, especially compared to the other Chinese teams in this tournament. You can definitely tell they're a team that's trying to put it together as far as their roster goes. And now the Scythe of Vice completes on ehwah, which combined with the Bounty Hunter allows them to find lots of instant picks. This is where things get scary, even for a team with BKBs. But Chaos Knight's gonna use the Phantasm and runs in with this BKB, pulls in DSF. DSF instantly to be brought down, or maybe not. Why are they not focusing him? Do they not have vision? Queen of Pain assassinates Veronica. Sansheng steals that Screw of Pain, not able to get what he really wanted, which was the Queen of Pain ultimate. And in the end, two heroes are dead as Night Stalker respawn. He died in that previous engagement. Not comboing the Night Stalker and the Chaos Knight BKBs, not comboing the Phantasms with the Night Stalker. Feels like a big blunder from Tong Fu. This, not only is it the fact that they lose that fight, but they rely on these BKBs to engage. Tong Fu can't win a fight when the BKBs are down. At least it's going to be real tricky to do so. So many stuns from Flash, so much ability to escape and run away from these melee carries. With Track and Warcry, that combo. Suddenly everybody's running at 450 move speed and has 20 armor. It's a little insane when you actually break it down. Chaos is getting close to his Aghanims as well. Although, actually, did he buy back? Maybe I missed the buyback from him. Or maybe he just hasn't been farming at all, because he had these items about 5 minutes ago. That is a good sign for Tong Fu. Another good sign is that longdd has picked up a Mjolnir. Kind of cheesy play from longdd. And honestly, I don't think it's the way to run the lineup. When you have the Chaos Knight and the Night Stalker, you should be ganking with your team, finding kills and then pushing. This split push kind of stuff, this is something you expect to see when you've got a really hard carry that farms and pushes quickly, like an anti-mage, maybe even like a Morphling in the previous patches, but it doesn't really seem to fit the lineup. Here we go, this is good. KY, caught, or hengkyky, excuse me, caught out of position, brought down, Stormbolt stolen, I believe. Oh no, steals the Warcry. Honestly, might even be better, although he promptly blows it. Doesn't want to hold on to it. I think he probably should wait for that to be in a little bit better position. No matter, though. MLG lurking on the high ground. DSF here as well. Track to fly out on Mu. Voided up. DSF forced back. Now Mu just going to start working on this tower. The glyph was blown. The Prophet has brought the creep equilibrium deep in right as the engagement breaks out. Ice Path not hitting a whole lot. Tower dropping low. Mu has a gem now. hengkyky about to respawn. DSF with the BKB initiates, but just being brought down. BKB's being popped left, right, and center. ehwah with the Mjolnir buff up on him. Nobody wants to fight this Chaos Knight, but they can't ignore him. Mu and ehwah together. This is what they should have done before. Bringing down ehwah. One more auto attack. Can they reality rift him? They pull him in. They chop his head off. Now onto DSF. Look at the mauler, the brawler. It's Hal going to work, going to town. And even bringing to KS when this is all done. Can they bring him down? No, the Ice Path going to be enough to keep him alive. Look how low everybody dropped, but nobody on Tong Fu dies. The mechanism was cooling down. They may not get Rex, but that's the teamfight option for the Mjolnir, which I didn't have a chance to think about. Was throw it on the Chaos Knight, throw it on the Night Stalker. Would have liked to see it earlier, but hey, better late than never. Now the tier 3 to fall. And the Rex in danger. BKB pulling back your MLG. Look at the initiation range for this team. Gem on the floor. Nobody picks it up. Sansheng tries to deny it. Tiny grabs it in time. And they're looking Rex. They want to end this game quickly. They know Flash have it if it goes ultra late. Even if it goes for another 10, 15 minutes, it can get dicey. Get the Rex out and get out before anything bad can come to pass. And ehwah TP's in to no avail. Tong Fu escape. They survive, and now they have some good map control, some good momentum heading down this middle lane for the next Roshan attempt. It took Tong Fu a little while to get in sync there, but when they did, you can see the synergy for this lineup. Just having these two massive frontline tanks who have good natural DPS. Speaking of good natural DPS, he's critting for 850. He doesn't have a single damage item. This is why some people feel Chaos Knight's just a little bit ridiculous as a hero. I wouldn't say he's broken, but it does require the correct picks and the correct laning to kind of counter him. Has that crit, has the full damage illusions, and spammable stun. Just doesn't need many items to do the kind of damage that a hero like Anti-Mage needs 3, 4 items to really contribute. Not to mention, he's a great initiator too, so when they roam as a pack, when they fight as a unit, Tong Fu definitely stronger than the sum of their parts.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
Or, that doesn't even make sense, does it? The sum of their parts definitely stronger than they are individually. TP in from Hao. He's going to jump in with the BKB. And it's a 4-second stun again. Hao getting really lucky with these stun. Chaos in trouble. Chaos will survive. Now the Stormbolt on a few. longdd jumps in. longdd just being melted by the Sven and the Bounty Hunter going to work on him. But that's not enough. Ice Path was stolen by sansheng. This is the spell he wanted. Triple kill for Hao. Tong Fu turning it around. They want MLG. Rowdy Rift does not cancel the TP, and he will escape in the end. I don't think ehwah being there would have made a difference, but definitely not having him there means 0 chance for Flash. Hell, they don't even get the tier 1. They don't even force the glyph. Tong Fu is their buyback on the field. Chaos Knight and Bounty Hunter and Twin-Headed Dragon. So one of the heroes that's dead has buyback. Their glyph is down, and longdd with the Mithril Hammer just gonna maul the Strax down. They all hit hard. This is gonna drop quickly. Sanj up on Hao. He's got enough money for Heaven's Halberd, which is gonna make him even more obnoxious to deal with. BKB and evasion for a lineup that relies on magical damage to bring, for the most part, to bring heroes down. Good luck killing this guy now. Nothing's gonna scratch him. Muda drop. That's 2 lanes of Rex down. DSF charges in. Now the Void thrown up in the air. Still can't pop his BKB. Will get it off in 1 second. It's cooling down. What a sprout. Keeping DSF alive. A bit of a mistake there. Doesn't matter. hengkyky to drop. Hao jumping in. Hao jumping out. Mu running in. This is such a chaotic fight. Everybody's all over the place. What a crit. Almost 900 damage. Chaos Knight bringing down another. Again, the 4-second stuns. How are you kidding me? How do you stop Hao when his Chaos Knight has a guaranteed 4-second stun? Ice Frog, please nerf Hao. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. And Tong Fu stormed back in game number 2. They get absolutely thrashed by Flash in game 1, and then they bring the pain train in game 2. A slow start. Flash got the aggression rolling, but it feels like a lineup that just had a few farmers too many, a few heroes that couldn't really fight against these BKBs and couldn't prevent them from being farmed. As well as Tong Fu just seized the initiative, seizing the moment, and really, with the Aghanim Scepter and the Gem, not only beats down 2 lanes of Rex, but you're never going to have vision again. Good luck getting wards up. Maybe if you place them inside of trees, maybe if you place them in very odd spots, you might be able to sneak one by. But even then, you'll be lucky to get a ward off. Which means you can't leave your base, because there's a Prophet on the field, who's got a BKB, who's got a Mjolnir, and there's a Night Stalker, plenty of strong global gankers. You can't leave your base, so you can't farm. You're falling behind in farm because your lanes are pushing in, and these creeps aren't worth as much. It's a nearly hopeless situation for Flash. But there's always a hope until the throne dies. Let's see if they can somehow turn this around. Chaos Knight comes in, has the Phantasm ready to go, and he's level 18. Immediately with the BKB, pulling hengkyky in. 4-second stun. How have you gotten anything but 4-second stuns this game? It doesn't look like it. Now the Mjolnir, the buff onto Chaos. They can't focus him. They can't focus Hao. They can't really do anything. The gem's on the ground and nobody gives a hoot about it. They're going to bring the racks down. Hao charges in with that Sanjayasha and the drums moving with the speed of the wind. 3 lanes of racks secured. That's the game. Flash are going to tap out momentarily. And we're going to have a dead heat in Group B. This is real exciting. DSF dodges the stun. You know it was going to be 4 seconds. Doesn't matter. MLG calls the GGs. Tong Fu with the good manners. reply back, and we have ourselves a group, guys. It looked like Flash might be running away with this, but as quickly as they look good, suddenly they fall behind. The group in a deadlock as we head into the final days of action. Both of these teams fighting for their playoff hopes, their playoff dreams. And for fans of either team, a little frustrating that they haven't secured a spot yet, but for those who don't have a dog in this fight or a horse in this race, it gives you something to root for. This was game number 2 of Tong Fu versus Flash. I'm ld of Beyond the Summit, casting G1 League group stage action for you. Today's day 7. If my memory isn't escaping me, we have 3 more days of group stage action to follow. This is a perfect time for me to say, if you missed any of today's games or any of the previous day's games, go to youtube.com/ldDOTA. In my channel, the first playlist below the featured video is the G1 League group stage playlist. Every single game, except for this series, is already up there, already available. And yes, that includes EG versus LGD. Subscribe to me, subscribe to youtube.com/godzstudios. You'll get free access to HD VODs for all of the games, and hey, the overlays have been flawless so far. This one, unfortunately, will be in 2 parts, but we caught most of the action. We only missed the first few minutes, so no big deal. And that pretty much covers it for me. Follow me if you enjoy my casting. Facebook, twitter.com/ldDOTA. More importantly, though, support the G1 League. Consider buying the in-game ticket if you enjoy the games, if you want to learn from all these pros. And I guess last but not least, let's take a look at the standings for today. So this gives us a 1-1 tie, which means for Group B, we have Flash Esports City at 2-4 with 2 points. Same for Tongfu, 2-4 with 2 points. In Natural 9, if they lose their next match, suddenly we have a 3-way tie with 3 teams sitting at 2-4 and 2 points. Or no, excuse me, they would have 3. No, if they lost the match, they'd have 2 points. So it's possible. It's possible we could have a 3-way tie in this group going into each team's final game, which just throws a wrench into everything. Ay. Let's see what happens. But Group B is an absolute dead heat. As for Group A, things start to shake out a little more. LGD sitting at 4-2. They're at 6 points. IG, the clear favorites to take this group, undefeated. Need to have 2 more matches to play, but look to be in great spot. Their last 2 opponents, definitely not the strongest teams in the group. They've already dealt with MUFC. They've already dealt with LGD. Now it's up to them to fight EG, fight FTFC. So Group A looking a little bit more what we expected. But this Group B, well, we expected it. I mean, Godz and I talked about it. Natural 9, Flash Esports, Tongfu. 3 teams where we haven't seen enough of them with their current rosters in this version, in Dota 2. And it's sort of top-tier Asian competitive play to know who's going to win. And it's up for grabs. It's just a matter of who's hungry enough to seize that opportunity, get into the playoffs, and who's going to sort of slip behind and be knocked out. So that sort of catches up on the standings for this game. I'm actually going to take this opportunity to see if I can get one of the Flash players for an interview. So let me talk to hengkyky now. Maybe I'll even bring a few of his teammates aboard. Thank you all again for tuning in. Stay tuned. Hopefully we're going to have a post-game interview coming up in just a few